Hey YouTube, so we have pine cones. So what can we do with them? Obviously for this video we're going to be looking at their uses as tinder and what's the deal about these pine cones, techniques and information about pine cones. So more more or less these pine cones are coming off the pine trees, of course, and they have different varieties and variations and levels of sap that's on them. And so you want to find some that has sap on them. They're flammable without some of the sap, but the fibrous material is slower to catch, and it's very difficult with the fire steel to do it unless you have enough sap on it. You also want them dry. You want to probably use several together, like 3 or 4 particularly. And as you can see, though, the way that they're actually designed by Mother Nature, that they have lots of surface area. And so I think that probably, contrary to what I was thinking, was to process these by actually breaking them down and tearing them down further. You may be better off just using them how they're designed and lighting them this way, because they already have massive amounts of surface area here. So as you have if you have enough sap, just use them as they are instead of trying to grind them down or pulverize them like I was trying before. So 3 to 4 of them works pretty good together to get yourself and buy yourself probably 5 to 7 minutes of burn time. Of course, this would be a lot better even if you soak these or dip these into like a melted wax or paraffin, and man, that would be really good. You get a lot longer burn time. As also, you would also be have a lot better burn time if you just roll these in Vaseline. Now that would really take off. So what kind of fire starters work with these? I mean, pretty much anything. The fire steel is one of the most difficult. I think maybe even more so, it would be even like the magnifying glass would probably be even harder, but I'm not sure if that's really someone's done that yet. But I know that I've seen some fire steel videos, and it took them many tries, 20, 30, 40 tries to get a spark and a fire on these. But a lighter and a match would be obviously the more simple and easy way to catch these on fire. You also might want to light one end and do the other end, and maybe do different sections, and then move this one, take the second one and put it above the other one to catch it, and move them around a little bit, so it doesn't snuff itself out. So what's the deal with these pine cones? Especially if you have resin on them, which you definitely want that, it's what you need. What is the resin? That's something that I didn't understand completely. It's sometimes referred to as sap, but I think the technical term from what I've found is pitch. So you have these 3 different terms: sap, resin, pitch. They're sometimes used interchangeably, but I think there really are some definitional differences. But this pitch, though, is or resin. Sometimes this is interchanged with 2 of the words here. Is a volatile, flammable material, and it actually contains this material, or I guess you would call it chemical, inside. It's natural, called terpenes. 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 And terpenes is that flammable part of this resin that comes from the pine tree, and that's what causes the reaction that it catches the flame or the spark. So that's what makes it a pretty decent tinder. It's not probably the best tinder. It has a nice slower burn, and it does have a pretty hot flame. I've noticed that. I've only burned a handful of these in my life, and so I'd just be curious if anybody else has any other opinions on pine cones and uses, because it does seem like this is definitely an option, just because of the surface area and the flammability, and especially the ones with sap. Even if you had to break these down a little bit to get it into a container or a pouch to carry with you, I still think you could mix this with other tinders, especially like leaves. I've been seeing people use leaves a lot, and other types of barks, as we all have already used. And together in combination, it's a very good option for a tinder. So a medley of tinder seems to be still the best option. than just one type of tinder. I've also seen a lot of people comment that taking pine needles, making a bed underneath of this, catching the needles on fire, which apparently they even are more flammable, or they catch even a little bit easier, and then they catch the cone on fire. So I don't really have any pine needles right available. Well, maybe I'll have to look around. I'm sure I have some here somewhere, but I don't have them in a bag, or I haven't collected them at least. And so maybe that's something that we can talk about in the future, or do. So I'll look around and try to find some pine needles, and maybe try to see if catching that on fire first and then lighting the cone is more efficient. If that's one of your techniques, or if you have another technique you would like to share, please leave it in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.